Have you ever watched something that completely rewired your brain chemistry?
A procedural network drama might not be your usual pick, but it's ours.
This is The Buddie System, a 911 deep dive podcast hosted by three friends who have DM'd each other enough character dissertations to earn a PhD in media literacy.
I'm Han, coming to you straight from the characters' heads.
I'm Sil, bringing you to the observation deck.
And I'm Rachel, connecting the dots with my red string.
With our powers combined,
No stone is left unturned.
And no buddy is left behind.
are your allergies going crazy today? Try Carbazine, the one and only treatment for the new kind of pollen. Side effects may include hallucinating teeny tiny beauty queens, extreme paranoia, smelling love, and man tears. Welcome to Dispatch. What's on call this week?
This week we're discussing Season 2, Episode 6, Dosed, written by Juan Carlos Cotto and directed by Gwyneth Harder-Payton, which originally aired Monday, October 22nd, 2018.
The first call of the week is The Sky is Falling, where a traffic reporter's helicopter experiences a malfunction while reporting in the sky and crashes onto bleachers in a park. The next one is Tastes Like Chicken, where... Sorry. That one was really dumb.
I was not prepared for
that. A man chokes during his participation in a not-so-classic eating contest sponsored by an exotic pet store with just as untraditional a prize. The next one is We Want to Pump You Up, where a bodybuilder seizes up and can't move a muscle mid-competition. And
just embarrassed Sil so badly.
Yes! This is exactly what I wanted. Feel the secondhand embarrassment because I have none. And though the last call from this episode was Toddlers and Tiaras, and an altercation occurs between two moms at a beauty pageant. However, the 118 are less helpful than usual. So this episode, I think, just like personally, is one of my favorites. And I think I've also watched this more than any other episode. And actually, fun fact, this was the first episode that we did as Buddie System. We called it our pancake episode. So our very early beginnings, our dry run, we were like, what episode can we do? Because we didn't want to do something like from season 1, because we would get to it too quickly. And so we chose Dosed. And I've been so excited to finally get to it for real.
For real.
I'm like thinking back of like the original, like when we first did it, I'm like, damn, I feel like I grew up. I feel like I graduated such a long time ago.
It was rough.
Like, it was rough because like I think I was kind of like, what do I
We all over-prepared.
Yeah,
too.
that too.
Yes.
4-6 pages.
And we were just doing a lot of synopsisizing.
Yeah.
Which we try not to do a ton of. And we try not to like be chained down to like going sequentially when we're doing character analysis. And we were just like literally hitting beat by beat. But I mean, it was still a lot of fun. But yeah. We kind of changed the format from what we had there. But that was the whole purpose of it, was to try it out and see what needed to change.
Was that also the same night that Tim Minear decided to drop his fucking Vertigo poster?
Maybe?
I feel like it was. Or was that the second episode? The first episode that we were... Well, season 1, episode 1. You know what? It might have been episode 1. We were recording episode 1 and we were probably watching 2. And then this man decides at 3 o'clock in the morning to fucking...
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yes.
I think you're right. We were watching season 1, episode 2, and it was like, what was it? Like 2 in the morning or something?
3 Eastern Standard Time. Yeah.
It must have been 2 because he likes to drop it at 11 o'clock Pacific time, right before he goes to bed. He says, yes, I'm going... This is my headcanon, but like decides, yes, I'm going to drop one image and it's going to send the fandom into absolute chaos. And I'm going to go to bed and sleep like a baby and then just wake up and revel in the chaos I've wrought.
Who needs melatonin when you're a chaos demon?
You probably sleep so well.
Yeah, if you're Tim Minear, you do. Absolutely.
So true.
We digress. Back to this episode.
This is just such a good episode. I love it so much.
It's still one of their major funnies, weird funny episodes.
It's really funny.
Yeah. But like I think this is one of the prime examples of the episodes that like showcase the sense of humor of 911 while also really balanced.
You mean the camp?
Yes.
Camp.
Yeah.
Where they do camp very well.
They do camp very well because they do it intentionally and on purpose.
I especially love just getting to kind of do analysis in a different way because you get to see how people behave when they are under the influence, which we don't get to see a lot of on this show. And especially getting to see kind of like the more humorous side. Is it even humorous side of Eddie? It's humorous to me, but I think he's having a little bit of a mentee bee.
We're going to get to it because I really want to spend some time in like scene dissection and analyzing everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Like everything is played for laughs on the surface. But again, I think this is like one of those like quintessential episodes that balances the humor, that balances the humor and the camp of 911 very well with like the depth that we can get into. Because again, like on the surface, this is just like silly, goofy, fun episode, right? With like some heart to it, obviously. But like actually when you look into it and you see how all of these characters react to being drugged unknowingly or against their will, it's very telling for the characters. So that proves like how intentional and like well thought out not only was the writing for the characters in this episode, but also the acting. Because then like very collaborative, everybody understood their assignment, right? So
absolutely.
He's so good.
So did you have thoughts on the episode before we talk about
my thoughts? I think like that's it.
They flew out the window.
Yeah, no, like I said, like it's one of those episodes where they handle humor, camp, and it's one of those comfort episodes of 911 that you just want to put you just want to watch again and again and again, kind of like, well, Jinx is a good example.
Yes.
And, you know, the just seeing the 118 getting hot. I mean, that's very like the highlight of any kind of episode where you have, you know, your core characters just doing some of the most silly, goofy things going on. Like, you know, it's just so good. It's just, you know. Anyway, that's
Chef's
it.
Kiss.
That's it. That's all I got. Beauty and the Bees and all that. Anyway, go ahead, Rachel. Stop me, please. We need to move on.
Okay. Even though I love the puns.
They're worthy of you? Great.
Yes, all puns are worthy. Should we go into deep dive?
Sure, yes, let's do it. Let's go.
Okay.
Dive right in.
Dive right in. Nosedive. Okay, I'll stop.
Oh my
Like Tommy's helicopter when it's swarmed by bees.
Oh my god. This isn't even me right now. This is the two of them. I don't know what's going on.
Like, I know it's not going to happen, but it's really funny to picture. His helicopter getting swarmed by bees.
Just FYI to our listeners, if this is even in the episode, we are not ghost right now. I promise you,
we are not actually.
This is just the crazy hour where we're like, oh shit, it's so fucking late. We need to
We're just naturally unhinged.
This is ADHD. You're welcome.
Wow.
Called us out.
Called us the fuck out. Okay.
Not wrong.
We're gonna need the Jaws of Life over here.
So, Jaws of Life deep dive. I couldn't really find any articles like I have the last couple of weeks. There was like, I looked, it was weird. I looked on like so many like news outlets and they didn't really have anything for most of like, October.
They were probably like, what the fuck is this episode? We'll move on.
It was probably thought of as more of a filler, which I mean, kind of, but like it's more than that, right?
The last episode was more of a filler.
I mean, it's got a lot of emotional things when we're talking about Bobby.
Every time. Anyway, so let me get to my deep dive, which isn't much, but I promise there's something. So
you just told us to shut the fuck up in the most Rachel way. Sorry, go ahead.
One of the reasons that I brought up that we did our original like pancake episode on Dosed was I had the best brain blast I think I've had. And I came up with this theme that we see through the episode, and I called it like Atlas Shrugged. We'll like get into the layman's terms of that in themes, but it was essentially the Greek myth of Atlas. He was a Titan condemned by Zeus to hold up the heavens or sky on his shoulders for the eternity when the Titans were defeated by the Olympians in their great war against each other. I'm not going to try to pronounce that word. And it's actually a common misconception that Atlas was forced to hold the earth on his shoulders, but in more classical art, it showed Atlas holding it's like a celestial sphere. So like the old timey diagrams of, like the concentric circles sort of thing. So it's not technically the globe. He's not holding the earth on his shoulders. But like the heavens and the sky. I think a lot of people know of the book called Atlas Shrugged. It's a 1957 novel, and the title is obviously in reference to Atlas of Greek mythology. Mm-hmm. And he's, again, known as the giant who holds the world or the heavens and the sky on his shoulders. And the significance of that reference in Atlas Shrugged in the book is essentially like the more you try to hold everything in or together, the more difficult it will become. To shrug is to relieve yourself of some of the burden, lightening your load. So that is essentially like one of the big themes that we see this episode. And I also found something also related to Atlas. It's called in psychology an Atlas personality, which is typically found in someone who felt obliged during childhood to take on responsibilities such as providing psychological support to parents, often in a chaotic family situation, which includes parentification of the child. And this can result in adult life of their personality being devoid of fun and feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders, which is why it's called an Atlas personality. And these people can also often experience depression and anxiety, as well as an inability to assert their own needs, and so on and so forth. So I thought that was a very interesting tie-in to maybe particularly one Bobby Nash and others.
And Maddie.
Well, Bobby Nash from what we now know from season 7.
Okay.
Especially. But it can tie into a whole bunch of other characters here. And because we've got Bobby, we've got Maddie, we've got Eddie, we've got Chimney.
Oh, yeah.
Probably a little bit of Hen.
Was Chimney parentified or just had no parents?
No, he had to explain he had to translate to his mom that she had cancer and stuff with his dad. So he was
I thought his dad went back to Korea when, like, his mom died.
Oh, maybe that was it. But still, I think, like, as a child, translating from the doctor, like, something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That counts as excessive responsibility.
True.
I think. So that's interesting.
I was specifically thinking of Maddie and Bobby, specifically because they're the main plot this episode. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. That
that's
they're the main focus, and there's the what was it called again?
Atlas personality.
Atlas personality. Interesting.
I mean, I just saw this on Wikipedia, so it makes sense psychologically speaking.
You can use Wikipedia as a source now, so
perfect. I'm an academic. All in all, the reference to Atlas being this mythological figure that is holding up all of this, basically everything, right? And having to do so for eternity and never being able to set it down. I think there's another myth, including Heracles, where there was like a trick and maybe like a multiple trick going on where I think Atlas tried to shrug off to make Heracles hold it and like tricked him so he wouldn't have to have that burden anymore. And then Heracles like re-tricked Atlas back into holding it again. I think is how it worked. Again, forgive my poor summarization of Greek mythology.
From what I remember.
Just like a really interesting thematic reference to ancient Greek mythology and apparently psychology. So I love how much we always say like, so with that being said, to transition, but with that being said, should we go into themes?
We should go into themes.
Uh-huh.
So obviously, like I kind of just mentioned, the whole Atlas thing is very much tied to the themes of like feeling like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, right? And I want to use a different word other than juxtaposition, but the conflict, here we go. The conflict. I think we need to have a thesaurus up with us. Different word for juxtaposition. Different word for dichotomy.
They're good words.
They are good words. I love those words. So we have also the conflict of feeling like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, and also wanting or needing or the act of unburdening that weight as well. And I think a lot of this comes up in these kind of like confessional kind of ways. We see obviously very literally with Bobby talking to the priest again, Hot Priest, Return of Hot Priest in season 2. We're rooting for Return of Hot Priest in season 8.
I feel like we manifested that.
Welcome home, brand name Joe Alwyn.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Yes.
You were missed.
You were missed. You did that on purpose.
I did.
So
most of the time when I trigger you guys, it's on purpose. I hope you realize that.
Good. That's an example of a literal confession, a very religious confession, but we also get with the interviews like that confessional, which is kind of the same vibe, where the 118 are telling their stories. And you also see that with Maddie talking to Sue. There's also, I liked the idea of the use of the helicopter as a metaphor for something that should be weightless because it flies in the sky, but it crashes down under burden. I don't know. I feel like there's something there. And then having the dynamic rollover with the weight ratio and having to remove the weight by like keeping it down sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I thought that there was something there. So like the act of unburdening oneself from the weight that you're carrying, AKA letting go, which has been our theme.
Oh, Lord.
Forever and always.
Imagine
will continue
this
to be.
is well, this is probably a series theme because they are still letting go of like their past, and
yeah,
because we're getting all those like begins episodes, and then we have like some things that call back to all the way down to season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like in current seasons, it's like, yeah. If we ever get to the series finale, oh god, let me not speak it into
because
his.
Tim Minear is never going to let things go. That's why.
Ironically, he can't take his own advice. Like I think honestly, Sil, I think you're right. Like, especially with Let Go being the second episode ever of this series, it really set into motion a lot of things that we'll be following for our characters. And I think that's like, isn't that just like a really human thing to do, of like trying to let things go?
Can't wait for the full realization of this arc of Eddie letting go of his Catholic guilt. But hey, this
is just the theme that keeps on giving.
I don't know. I'm sitting over here with Buck, and we've never let anything go in our entire lives. So
he let Abby go.
He did.
I mean, letting go of your like whatever remaining feeling about something is. You're never letting that go. You're never like completely moving on from something. Like you're going to forgive, but you're never going to forget.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think letting go doesn't necessarily mean that you forget. It just means that you don't let it burden you anymore.
I think it may be moving on. Anyway, I think we're derailing. So
we are. Sorry.
I'm getting a little esoteric.
Okay, so the other theme that we picked up on was exploitation or feeling exposed. We get introduced to this character named Taylor Kelly, and she's a news reporter. She's out here trying to, well, as a news reporter does, which is inform with truth. She's using it to her own gain. So she's exploiting the 118 to bring herself up in her career. And, it's just an uncomfortable situation. I mean, first of all, you have that camera. Like, they're lugging around that camera all up in your faces, especially during calls. People are uncomfortable. And then Bobby's just straight up uncomfortable. He's just like, get that camera away from me. And my
literally
calls.
Pushes it.
He literally does. Yeah. As he should.
Because he feels exposed.
Well, yeah.
With that like big magnifying glass spotlight on him. But he personally feels exposed, but he also recognizes that having the camera on calls is kind of exploiting these people who are in distress as well. So that is one of his concerns too. So even though he like kind of projects about it, it's both. Like he's being considerate of others, but feeling too seen.
Yeah. And then also there's the fact that the camera, having a camera pointed at you, there is weight in different ways as well. So it does connect to your first theme.
The burden. The weight of the camera.
The weight of the camera. The weight of the camera of exposing you, and then the weight of the camera just, this guy is just lugging it around. But there's also the weight of camera of it being like that lens, like that perceptive lens. So
yes.
Ooh. I don't know. We could analyze the weight.
That perceptive lens thing ties into my theme.
It's just, we can go many ways with that. But anyway, Han, go ahead.
So the theme that I really honed in on was shrouded reality. Sorry, I couldn't come up with a less pretentious way to explain it.
I mean, it is what it says, right? So.
Yeah. So it's like shrouded reality in that, like, if you think about Maddie, like she's perceiving things to be a certain way because of her trauma that aren't really there. So she's got this paranoia. So she's not really perceiving reality the way it is. And then we have that like very literally with Bobby when he is dosed. And
with all
actually
of them.
all of them when they're dosed.
They're not perceiving reality in the way that it is. Exactly.
But then we have Mr. Buck over here just living in his own little story in his head. We'll get to that later.
Oh, I didn't make that connection.
Very much shrouding reality from himself. And yeah, so it's a big theme, I think, with everyone in this episode in one way or another, or multiple ways.
Yeah, I think that also kind of like moves into another connected theme where that revolves around like the narrative or the story TM. And it's like and different versions of a narrative or different versions of a story depending on someone's personal perspective or just like how someone sees themselves, how someone sees others, and kind of like how the community at large sees the firefighters as these heroes, but the firefighters often don't see themselves as the heroes. So there's also like that feeling of failure and that narrative that they tell themselves, like that, like they don't want to fail, but they are seen as a hero, and just kind of that as well.
It's also they just see it as doing their jobs.
Exactly.
But
also in terms of a narrative, like the news story versus the real story. So Taylor goes into this whole thing wanting to give them the truth of these heroes as firefighters. She goes in with that intention. And she happens upon this like really juicy story of this station getting dosed. Okay, I think the only other thing was competitions were in there. Like there were 3 different competitions. It was 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was the eating competition. It was the muscle man competition, bodybuilder, whatever. And it was the teeny tiny beauty queens. And I don't think I connected that to anything other than that.
Okay.
There were 3 of them, and again, like 1 is an incidence, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern, but I don't. So I kind of wanted to know, like, do you think there's anything more to that? Because it just
unless
seems
you're gonna say that it's a competitive job market for Taylor Kelly to get her big break or whatever. I don't know, that one I just pulled out of my head somewhere.
Valid.
No, it could be seen kind of like Taylor themed,
right? Because literally nobody else is competing for anything, actually.
No.
Or like how it would connect to like the idea of being dosed. I mean, we understand obviously how the bodybuilder competition would, because they dose on steroids, but the other 2, it's like dosing yourself with bugs.
Okay,
Bugs?
no. Absolutely not.
Protein.
Well, protein with the bodybuilder competition, they have to have a lot of protein to build all that muscle.
But then what about
or steroids?
What about the little teeny tiny beauty queens? I mean, there was that mom that got so angry, and she was like, that girl is 11 if she's a day. So like, are they dosing them with like anti-aging stuff? I don't know.
They're not dosing them. She was just trying to say.
I know.
That
she was cheating.
Yes.
Oh, maybe something about cheating.
Yeah, it could be cheating.
Wait, okay. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Okay, something about cheating.
Let's go brain blast.
I'm not. It's like a brain. It's like, it's not fully blasted, but it's like chugga 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 chugga. Something about cheating and not coming to something like naturally. No, trying to get ahead, which could be Taylor Kelly related. Using opportunities or using things to your advantage to gain a leg up in the competition. You decide. That's what the announcer lady at the bodybuilder competition is like. Mm-hmm. She said, "Too much for a man? You decide." Which I also thought related to the Atlas thing.
I don't like the way that she said explosive quads, because all I was picturing were people's quads exploding, like literally.
Well, we did kind of see a quad almost explode in the first episode of this season with the grenade.
Rachel, wasn't that a calf?
Or was it a thigh?
Which was
part of the anatomy?
Anyway,
I don't know. Leg part. I don't know. I was trying to tie it back. Anyways, so something about competitions. You decide. Sometimes we can connect the dots, and sometimes we need help connecting the dots.
Sometimes it's a group exercise. You tune in for us to tell you things, and we say we don't know. It's a great system.
But we can point things out and show you and be like, here, what do you think? Here you go.
What do you think?
What do you think? Our gift to you.
I think that we should talk about characters.
I think so too.
Who's cooking? Are we starting with Bobby and Athena?
I think we should.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back, Hot Priest TM. We missed you so much.
Name brand Joe Allen.
Hopefully we'll be seeing you again soon.
With our one and only favorite, Eddie.
Our one and only?
One and only. We are equal opportunity.
Sorry. I was going to say... Never mind. Shut up. Anyway, yes, our favorite...
Our favorite closeted
closet Catholic.
Case.
Eddie Diaz.
Let's talk about Bobby and Athena. Bobby took us to church.
Take us to church, Bobby. He's the only person who takes us to church.
Yeah.
Currently. But yeah, so Bobby is kind of going through it in this episode because it's what would have been his daughter's birthday. And it's kind of coinciding, as things always do in 911 universe, at the worst possible time. So it's while May's getting ready for her homecoming. She's 16, right?
I think she's 14.
Is she? No, she was in high school last year.
Athena says it's her.
Anyway,
Athena says it's her first homecoming. Maybe she's 15.
Well, she might have been in the hospital during the last homecoming. We don't know.
Oh. Wow.
Just because it's her first homecoming doesn't mean that it's her freshman year of high school.
I think you're right, actually. Okay, wait, because May graduated in fictional universe 2020.
Yes.
So if this is 2018, then okay, yeah. So I think she would be a sophomore.
Anyway, 16-ish years old. So all of it is bringing up these memories of his daughter, and he's definitely grown and healed somewhat from where he was in the first season, but he still has a ways to go. And that's kind of something that you are never really going to get over as a parent, is the loss of your kid. Mm. So it's just very unfortunate timing for the birthday to be happening and having a reporter up in his face.
Oh gosh.
And kind of feeling like he's already a raw nerve ending, right? He's already feeling exposed because he has talked to Athena about this, right? So having to be vulnerable, talking to her about it, and he's still being honest with his bestie, Hot Priest TM.
I do love their conversation that they have. I think Hot Priest TM, because we never get a name, I don't think.
No.
Beside the point. But he asked this really thought-provoking question, and it was, is it hard to reconcile the fact that she would have been 13 with the image that Bobby has of her in his head? of like much younger. And I thought that was just like such a poignant thing to point out. Because it's like, I don't even know how to like talk about it.
Well, yeah, it's like when you lose someone, they're kind of frozen at the age that you knew them. So
in amber,
especially
the amber of your mind.
So especially for a kid, that would be especially hard to like try and picture them as like
grown up
as
more.
they would be, right?
And then also in that conversation, I thought there was just like a very interesting word choice where when Bobby tells the priest that, you know, the last project that Brooke had was a show and tell of her dad, the hero. But I don't know if this is like super intentional or just kind of like worked out this way. But when Bobby said her last project was a show and tell of her dad, the hero, the language that he uses kind of removes himself from that as well. Because then the next thing he says is, she was so proud of me. Right. But that, I don't know, that it's kind of like a psychological thing where you like further remove yourself from that. So it's like, he isn't the hero that she thought he was. And I don't know. I just kind of caught on to that. And I thought it was like a really interesting, like dissociation from what his daughter thought of him. And especially what we know now with all the like, my dad, the hero and all that stuff is.
I was just about to tie that in because if you remember the Bobby centric episode of season 7, you know, he's got that whole photo album of like pictures of his dad, like the one that's associated I guess like as a hero.
Yeah.
That he made for him. So
it's kind of like history repeating itself there and and like right after that too.
He feels like it's history repeating itself, right? Yeah. So like he kind of feels like he's his own self-fulfilling prophecy. Absolutely. That he basically became his father, but he doesn't understand that they're very different people, that even though they're both addicts and like
they didn't even make that similar mistakes.
No, they didn't.
But they made mistakes because of the addictions.
I think it's because of the addictions, and Bobby sees how he was hurting his family by still using and being, you know, distant because he was sneaking out to, you know, to get high. And then ultimately, you know, the inadvertent hand he had in their deaths.
Right.
You know, like, so he's definitely kind of picturing himself as his father at times, I feel.
Oh, 119 needs to have better parents.
They sure do.
Bobby will be like, I'm sorry, this isn't accurate. No firefighter has good parents. So
are they gonna put the parents in Hot Shots?
Love me anyway. And Buck's just sitting there like, oh.
It's like,
oh no,
it's Big Brother in my apartment. Yeah. So anyway, Bobby is going through it as he kind of always is, but he's in a much better place this season because he is opening up to people, even though he is kind of trying to distance himself. So even though him and Athena are like really solid and like getting closer, he kind of tries to leave the dinner that he's at, where May and Athena start talking about homecoming and the dresses, and he's kind of like, this is too much, and like needs to leave. And, you know, she runs out to apologize, and I feel like Bobby from last season would have been like, it's fine, and left, but he like actually...
He's learning to lean on Athena as a support system. And he's still kind of like holding himself at a little bit of an arm's reach.
Yeah.
Because I think he doesn't want to fully let go and be able to lean I'm sorry. It's the theme that keeps on giving.
I think he says in season 7 to Athena when they're doing the callback, to all of this shit. And he's talking about how he didn't want any of this to touch her. So I think he is opening up to her, but like he is trying to keep like
her protected.
He's trying to protect her from himself, like from the parts of himself that he thinks are ugly. So like he is opening up about like traumas and like missing his family and things like that. But I don't think he's opening up about like, I'm broken.
Well, I mean,
he's not saying, I don't think I'm ever going to feel normal again.
Right.
Like he's not doing that kind of opening up at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still kind of like a very controlled release, shall we say. Coming back to 201, I don't mind me. But it does kind of feel like he's letting some air out of the tire, but like in a very kind of like controlled manner, right? So like he's Athena already knows that this is a sore subject for him, right? So like he's already told her about, what happened with his family, obviously. And she recognizes that he feels uncomfortable because he doesn't think like he can be there for this or that he's intruding on their family moment. So like he's still telling her these things, but it's not everything. Because like we see in season 7, she didn't know that he threw the book away with the 148 names. So it's very deliberate. I don't want to say, it's very deliberate what he does, choose to confide in her about.
I think to an extent, yes, but I also think there's just that part of you when you are someone who deals with depression that like some of it is just so subconscious or like you're burying those feelings. So like, why would you open up to someone about it if it's something that you're trying to like ignore yourself or are repressing?
Yeah, I mean to that extent, like if some of that you're trying to be like, no, this is too much for someone, that is like a deliberate like omission sort of thing, because you're also kind of like trying to omit it from yourself. So if you're trying to like repress, whether it's conscious or unconscious,
he just doesn't. Basically, I think the TLDR of his kind of thought process behind not wanting Taylor around is like he does not want attention on himself for several reasons. Yes. And like the one is like his past, right?
Gets dredged up
because nobody knows about it. Yes. And then the second is like he genuinely is just like he's just doing his job and he doesn't want like he doesn't want to be told that he's a hero. Like he doesn't want a spotlight shown on him. Like he doesn't want to be famous or have his 5 minutes of fame. Like he doesn't want any of that. So he hates it and he feels like it's invasive and it's disruptive to what he's trying to do. So he's feeling exposed and too seen. So he's very much not about it. he's very much like, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah. And like,
but professionally.
He is, because he is very uncomfortable, but like when the chief calls and tells him that, she's got access to everything, he can't really like turn her away. But, Taylor does say, I'm going to make you all famous. And he's just like, no, thank you.
Pass.
Do not want.
It's going to be a no from me, dog.
Do not want, because he doesn't want. He's kind of like, this is a little bit of the most difference between him and Buck is that Bobby does not want recognition for anything ever at all.
Well, yeah, because he feels like he doesn't deserve it, especially after what had happened with his family. So
exactly.
I don't think that I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that Buck wants recognition. He wants to be told good job.
I was extrapolating.
Like he doesn't he also doesn't want to be like, you're a hero. And you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't like really want the thanks. He just like, he wants the validation from the people he cares about. Right. Not like random people.
And Taylor is so out of that community, right? That she is an outsider to Bobby. So, so he doesn't want that recognition from her because it may be a little bit of kind of like, well, what do you know? Like, what do you know about any of this? Like, we do this every day. Oh, real quick about Bobby and Taylor. Like, even though he does have a lot of feelings of feeling too seen and too exposed, he does have a point when they're at the bodybuilder scene. Like a good leg to stand on when he tells her to stop pointing the camera at people who are in distress, because that is exploitation of, you know, people who are either can't consent or aren't in their right mind or are just like having the worst day of their lives. But also he is in distress a little bit still. So he's kind of including, like, that can include him in some stuff as well. So it's Bobby looking out for the people that they're helping out, but also in a way that serves him too.
So I think while everyone getting dosed in this episode is, you know, largely for the funny ha-has, we also get a lot of character work in Bobby. We get like a little bit of a funny haha at the beginning when like, because they use him to like show that everyone is dosed. But I was telling Syl that I feel bad for laughing every time because I'm like, this man's losing his sobriety against his will, but also he's so funny.
I know. And I think maybe they use him as this gateway into realizing that everybody else has been
a gateway drug.
Yeah, unintentional, but we'll leave it. So yeah, they use him as this gateway, right? Because I think, I mean, it's all pretty obvious that they're acting different, but like his is probably the most drastically different in the way that he acts, because he's never kind of like, oh, look at, there's a universe in this like chocolate crumb right here. And it's just kind of like, huh? Because he's not usually so like existential like that, right? He's very kind of like grounded, nose to the grindstone, and
direct.
Yeah. And not very like metaphorical either. And he's just all of a sudden like, look at the world is opening up. And so it really like makes us as the audience like, yeah, something's way, way off.
I think it's also funny to me because I feel like he tapped in, as someone who loved 6 Feet Under, I feel like he really tapped into Nate Fisher, who does so many drugs on that show. So
wait, that's so funny.
And yeah, who does get very much like, the meaning, like, you know, very trippy kind of experience. So I think he definitely tapped into that for that scene in particular.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't watched that show.
It's such a good show. It has the perfect series finale.
Ooh.
No series finale will ever top, literally ever, I don't think. Prove me wrong.
Big words. Prove us wrong. 911.
Prove me wrong.
But like but also 15
don't
years.
End. Thank you. Yeah.
Prove us wrong in 2040.
But like in a decade. Anyway. So I think the meat of this is that scene on the roof where Athena finds him. And, you know, he is having this kind of like
hallucination.
What am I trying to say? Communion. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's an hallucination. But I was like, he's having...
It kind of is like a communion with like spirit and like the spirit of his daughter. And honestly, I think you're on the right track there.
And Athena even says like in her little amazing monologue to him, which is like you're getting a glimpse of like what's around us all day. So like he is, communing with like the unseen, the like in between, right?
The veil.
So he's seeing intrinsically the spirit of his daughter and, talking to her, and he wants to go with her because she's so beautiful and it's his daughter. So she has to, explain to him.
Literally talk him off the ledge.
Yeah, but the way she does it is so beautiful and like just really indicative of like their relationship and how well she understands him. Yeah.
And I think that like this whole aspect of their relationship where she is pulling him back from the ledge, like literally metaphorically, it really shows how balanced their relationship can be. Just equal, like they treat each other as equals, partners, especially after the meeting with the chief when it's revealed like it was LSD and
they go buddy cop.
a little before that. So like when Bobby comes home after
when they're having the talk,
the talk,
okay,
yeah, and Bobby is just confiding in Athena, and there's that confessional aspect again, and he's confiding about his struggle with sobriety, about how like his sobriety is a crushing weight on him, and sometimes he doesn't know how much longer he can keep carrying it. Again, Atlas, bringing it back to the theme. No, because it's literally like that's what it is. But Athena, he doesn't know how much longer he can keep carrying it. And Athena says, well, maybe you should stop trying to carry it alone. Like she wants to be in it with him, to use Bobby's own advice kind of against him. She wants to be in it with him and just kind of like help shoulder the burden. And inherently that will make it less heavy. So she's really making this plea essentially to like let me in all of the way, even more. Like she knows he has his guards up. She knows he's sensitive about things like her kids having milestones that he'll never get to see with his, which is
this is her kind of like following up from what she said when she followed him out of her house earlier in the episode, where he's like, you shouldn't be worrying about me and like thinking about this kind of stuff when like your kids are alive and they have all this beautiful life ahead of them, like you should be doing that. And she's like, can I multitask? Like I'm great at that. What do you mean I can't do both?
It's like a really lovely scene, but it's also like it's lovely and it's heartbreaking.
I mean, that's Bobby.
Yeah, that is Bobby. Athena grounds him, right? Because in kind of a literal and metaphorical sense, because he wanted to float off with what he thought was Brooke. But she brought him back to reality. So she is grounding him in reality, but she also was trying to lift him up in spirit, right? By including him in the rest of the grants are also like trying to lift him up by including him in the family and the family photos and everything like that. And just kind of like when I think May like reaches out a hand, pulls him in. So like they all want to be in it with him, which is lovely.
Yeah. It's so sweet. Seeing him like be included in that family. It's kind of like he's never, so it's kind of like he's never going to forget the family that he lost, but like he's gaining this new family that's going to help support him and that they can like also kind of like what you said, like shoulder the burden and it'll like I guess like kind of fulfill him and like fill that hole that his other family, that hole that he still has inside. So like I don't know, it's just like a sweet scene to see.
It's very much like another step on Bobby's healing journey, right?
Oh yeah.
Like he's not there
yet. It's a long tour.
It's a long road. It's like 8 seasons long.
He's still not.
I do really love the song choice in that scene as well. hold on, what is it? It's Love Someone by Lucas Graham. And basically the lyrics are talking about like having to like pinch yourself, like thinking that like your life with someone is a dream. And then the chorus is about like, and being scared that it's a dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the chorus is about opening yourself up and making room for people, because that's what you do when you love someone.
Oh,
it's just really beautiful.
Wait, that's
and
really
it makes
nice.
me tear up every time. Yeah.
The last little bit is when he and Athena are playing kind of detective and tracking down Sandy and her exotic pets.
God.
And solving the mystery of who dosed the 118. So funny. I love when Bobby gets to go on little shenanigans. I think it's great, and it kind of it brings a little more levity into it, especially for such a like deep, heart-wrenching story for him.
Mm-hmm.
And Sandy talks about she just wanted to give them all a little clarity, and I
you know what? Maybe she did.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to, like, as we continue talking about the rest of the characters, like, figure out what clarity they were getting, because I think Bobby's was, like, his clarity was letting go of some of the burden that he's been carrying by himself and allowing himself to lean on Athena more and lean on the grants as well.
Yeah, open himself up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, like, he already kind of knew, but now even more so, right? And how it, like, yeah, this clarity that it's okay to mourn what you lost, but also still want to engage in what you have currently.
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of clarity.
I also feel like he did this last season, right? So like he did that with the team. He wasn't letting them in, letting them help with
until he broke down.
Until he broke down, in which, wow, I guess it is kind of a mirror.
Yeah. Until he's pushed to the edge.
Oh my god. This poor man.
Oof.
Oh man. But yeah, I guess like it's baby steps with him. So that last season it was letting his team in, and then now it's, you know, letting Athena in, letting Athena's family in. Do we have a third step? I think that would be it. Trying to think if there's like another episode that mirrors like kind of like this kind of thread, but I can't think of one.
Sure there is. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that.
Yeah. Yeah, because everything else is him like, oh no, the past is catching up with me. Again. Doesn't catch a break.
Really doesn't.
Well, he doesn't let himself either. That's also a thing.
He's very hard on himself.
Yeah.
And he holds himself to impossible standards that he's never going to be able to meet anyways. So it's like he holds himself to the standards that he thinks that he should live up to because of how other people see him as the hero.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, the same can be said for a lot of these characters. But
most of the 118 is like this. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, especially because he is the leader of them. So it's kind of like, you know, it takes a similar kind of person to be able to be in this job, but also, you know, the rest of your crew kind of takes after what you put forward as the captain. So it just, one of the ways that they all mesh very well. Again, I can never meet the standards I set for myself because I don't deserve it. Yeah, it sounds like all of them. Support systems for Bobby. Yay.
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 You know who else is getting a new support system? Our dear friend Maddie, in the form of Chimney.
Ah, yes. Yes, Maddie and Chimney, yes.
Cute.
Oh my god, they're so cute. Which is also what Maddie said. Okay, so essentially, like, Maddie is this episode very much dealing with, you know, she's in a new place, and she's moved out of Buck's place because she wanted to continue to make a life that was her own for herself, right? Mm-hmm. And so she did the dang thing, and she's in a new apartment and she's moved in, or she's moving in. I think she's still like sleeping on some boxes or something, or her bedside table or like cardboard boxes. But she's so on knife's edge with fear about like, you know, because these are the first few nights that she's alone and she isn't with anyone else, and just like that fear, her past coming back, just like haunting her, which I know is the next episode.
Well, it's also tying into that theme of like kind of paranoia, even though hers is like very much deserved. Mm-hmm. It is very much, she even says like thinking that everything that's going bump in the night is, you know, something terrible and not just like the ice machine. So, you know, she's determined to live by herself, but she's also having a really bad experience living by herself.
Yeah.
But she's kind of like, you know, her brother in that, and she sets her mind to something, she's just gonna.
Yeah. Which is, it's sad because she's taken so many precautions to make herself feel safe, but still nothing will kind of like, there's a lot of lack of closure there.
Yeah.
And that I think is what's really triggering all of that paranoia, because like she is trying to close one chapter and open another, but it's kind of not letting her, she's kind of not letting herself also in the same kind of way, right?
Well, because she is living under this like active threat, basically, you know, where he abused her for years and then threatened to kill her. And she was like, he meant it. So she ran away, and she knows that like he will not only hurt her again if he finds her, but could potentially kill her. So it's like she is living these two very like vastly different kind of realities where like she's she's, you know,
the different realities.
So it's like she's like reclaiming her independence, and like she looks like she kind of like on the outside like has it all very much together, but she is like losing it whenever she's by herself or when she's on her job and gets reminded, you know, of that situation.
Yeah. Because then it all comes flooding back so viscerally that, and she just reminded that even though she, you know, she's put like so much physical distance between her and her previous life and her husband, or but she still can't feel safe. And like that is, I mean, if we want to talk about dosed being like something that affects like your brain chemistry, right? Like this would be that as well. Like, because it's just so disruptive to her living life.
Well, also the circumstances, I mean, she got up and left. Doesn't mean that he can't come back and find her. I mean, well, not come back, but, you know, like go after her. Yeah. She's never going to know when that day would come, but she's like anticipating it at this point and trying to like set up, you know, countermeasures, or she's taking precaution, you know, with like the whole security cams and that Chimney is graciously helping her with. And, you know, so she's always going to have like that. It's always going to be in the back of her mind.
Which is also really nice then that she ends up confiding in Sue at Dispatch. So there's here's another like element of like a confessional, confiding, you know, this unburdening, right? If we want to keep talking about that as well. And like Sue offers herself as not only like a professional person that she can lean on, but kind of personal as well, because this is kind of like in the center of that Venn diagram of personal and professional for Maddie, right? Maddie talks about how, like, you know, there are moments when the idea of getting off that floor was impossible, or I think Sue says this, but like here she still is, so she can still like take steps forward. I think what Sue said was kind of ties back into the idea of like being the hero of your own story, or like the narrative that you tell yourself. It's like the moral of the story is that Maddie has to keep telling herself is that she did get out and that she succeeded in this, and like that's kind of what she has to rely on. But it's this nice like offering system of support for Maddie there, especially when she does end up dealing with domestic abuse hang-up calls, which is so triggering for her.
Yeah, and it's just really beautiful to see, like, from the get-go, like, how her and Chimney just, like, kind of connect, and, like, she just feels safe around him, and kind of just, like, has this inherent trust of him. And, I'm sure part of that has to do with the fact that her brother thought that it was okay to, like, bring him into the home to set up her security system. Yeah, exactly. Right? But I'm sure she's heard about him from Buck too. So, she went into meeting him already, like, thinking that he was a good person. And then just when they met, like, having this little spark, and, like, having this part of her that she probably hasn't experienced, that she was, like, in college, like, since
I think
before she started dating Doug. I guess that's when they started dating, right? When she was in college.
It's this like little spark of hope or potential, maybe.
Yeah.
Like the start of it. It really helps, I think, solidify this like feeling of starting a new life, right? And I mean, I know it's pretty on the nose, but I do love so much that Chimney and Maddie, so like Maddie begins by by Chimney literally setting up her security system, as in like he is her security.
As in he's the security system.
Exactly. Yes, and I just think that's like, I know it's kind of obvious and a little over like on the nose, but I just think that's so well done, because it just puts him in this kind of separate category from anybody else that Maddie kind of interacts with. And it makes Chimney like, this is a person besides your brother and besides your boss that you can like, she's kind of expanding her community a little bit. But it still puts Chimney in a separate category all of his own, right? Because Eddie is there to help out as well, but he's mostly there to help out with Buck, which we'll get to.
She does not care that he is there.
No, he was just there. At all. He was just there to hoist the other side of the couch. That's it, and to bring the pizza.
Very inefficiently bringing in the couch.
Yes. Yeah. But yes, so Chimney is in a category all of his own, and it's a way that endears him to her and gives Maddie an opportunity to trust him. And like when at the end he brings the movie over, and it like starts a solid foundation of friendship to begin with, and that Maddie doesn't have to feel burdened with all of her past traumas and her fears that came before. And she can just kind of like be, I think, we keep talking about, or maybe I keep talking about that like sigh of relief and everything. And I think Chimney is that for Maddie, because they can just like chill, watch a movie, hang out. They'll end up doing karaoke, just exist, just be in the same space together, where she's not like constantly looking over her shoulder, because she has Chimney with her, and he is security. He is safety. I just love that, because it starts their relationship off on such a solid, again, like Chimney and Athena are very much like kind of in the same roles in this episode, where they are the support system, especially, and we can talk about it a little bit, maybe more in scene dissection, because they are the two that are not dosed, and they are the support systems. So it further emphasizes how much they are safety incarnate for the people that they care about, or the people that care about them as well.
I just have to say this thing. Like, I think it's perfect that they I guess, yes, this is Maddie Begins, but they're coming to each other at like a perfect time. A perfect point in time. So, Chimney got his closure with Tatiana, and Maddie, yes, like she has her past that's basically chasing her, but kind of like what you said, he is that safety, that sigh of relief, that like she doesn't have to feel, which actually kind of like she doesn't have to feel so, I guess, like on the run. I mean, she was convinced to stay because that's what she was going to do. She was going to keep running. And it kind of just solidified her, just wanting to, I guess, settle where she is. And now she's building her community and all of that. Yeah. Which kind of like what I was about to say was, well, it's going to bite her in the ass a little bit. Eventually. Soon. But yeah, no, it's like they came to each other at like the most perfect of times or point of time, really.
Yeah.
To begin that, that relation, or not begin that relationship, but like the seeds are being planted there.
I think you're so right. And the way that what was it? Oh, it was in 204. It was stuck because I wrote it down here. He's kind of already unburdened himself, right? And gotten that closure with Tatiana. So he already feels more freed, and he's not like burdening himself with the posturing that he's trying to do or anything like that. Like I think we've mentioned, like, he's become a lot more self-actualized, like once, the thing with the calendar happened, but then finally, like with Tatiana and how they were able to just kind of like, he was able to come into his own. So he doesn't really hold a lot of burden right now. So,
which is probably why he's not dosed.
Yeah, exactly. Him and Athena, right? And that's why they're able then to shoulder the weight for Maddie or Bobby, because they have already like released for themselves, right? So yeah,
but we'll get into that more.
Yeah, they really did set up with Chimney and Tatiana in 204. They set that up perfectly, and I think we did mention it in that episode, but when they run into each other in the hospital after Chimney's checkup, and Tatiana goes to the elevator, and Chimney's like, "No, I'll wait for the next one," and this is the next one. Maddie is the next one. It's just like, that's the kind of like continuity, intentional narrative writing that is really nice to see, because
tickles your brain.
Yeah, because when they are planting seeds that actually bloom or blossom down the road, and you can kind of go back and see like, okay, they were putting that in to set up for later, and it's just like a little well, I guess like it's more than a little, because they had to get Chimney to this point in order for him to be able to be that support system for Maddie. Smart. It's so smart. Shall we get into the rest of the 118? I did want to touch on like their interview or confessionals that Taylor was producing or doing, whatever, and about how everybody became a firefighter, which I also thought was so interesting too, because it kind of puts this, again, seed in your mind about, how about their origin stories, how they became firefighters. And this is the season that we see the Begins episodes. So I think it's really interesting to have this kind of confessional of them saying, oh yeah, I got into it for this and this way. And then we'll actually kind of see the reality of it further down the road, because they are very much telling a very particular narrative with these interviews because, again, I think they're feeling a little exposed, right? And uncomfortable with it. Like when Taylor shows up and we get through the camera POV, which we get a lot in this confessional sort of montage thing. They all look mildly uncomfortable, except for Buck, who's just kind of like, I'm so intrigued by what's happening right now. We'll see in the Begins episodes that it's not exactly how they describe to Taylor or to her camera person, and it's not exactly like a straight trajectory. So I think Hen is the one that we get the most detail with, because she gives the whole backstory of her getting shot and then how she woke up in the back of an ambulance and how she said how the people who were working on her, their skill kept her from dying, but how they cared for her kept her alive and helped give her a great sense of purpose. But when we see in Hen Begins, it's not that at all.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that stuck with her.
It's a roundabout way. So I think it's more of a roundabout way because we do see her working in like pharmaceutical sales. So I think
what are we supposed to say? She hated her job and
but I think like I can understand the connective tissue with the pharmaceutical sales because she wants to be helping people, but this is a completely different way of doing that. And then let's see, Eddie liked the camaraderie and the community of the army, and he loves working with a great team. We will also find out it's complete bullshit. And Buck gives, so like Eddie's is so obviously just kind of like a PR answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we've talked about like Eddie does this a lot. He kind of says things that he thinks he knows people want to hear. Uh-huh. Exactly. And that also make him look good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's like absolutely not true. And then I think Chimney's just basically deflecting and talking about like everybody wants to be a hot firefighter. Here's my calendar. And it's like, well, no, that's not how you became a firefighter. And Buck is like the least descriptive. He just kind of fell into it. Like, and that's it.
I just think it's so interesting that anytime that he's asked to like talk about something like this, it's literally like deflect.
He does not give any information.
Because what was it, a couple episodes ago, we were talking about what would you be doing if you weren't doing this?
Like, oh, am I fired?
And he
did not answer.
I'm not fired? Well, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too, because, like, for someone who fell into firefighting and it became his entire life, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, there's obviously more to the story of all of these.
Mm-hmm. But they don't want to tell her. But also, I just do want to say, from what they show us, she's not doing very good reporting because she's not digging or asking leading questions to like try and get more of a truthful answer out of them. So,
yeah. So, but like, don't you think if she were asking more leading questions that they would be more standoffish? Like,
sure. Like but if she got a PR answer and she has that for her thing, she could keep digging. But the only person she tries to keep doing that with is Bobby.
Kind of, I think. She's not really going where the story is taking her. She kind of is bulldozing the story to fit her MO.
Because I think she's like, the way that Bobby is responding to her, she's like, he's hiding something. And so she's decided that's the story.
And I think that's also
kind of doing so is missing out on actually
a big story. I think, though, that is a good differentiation to make, though, because Bobby is the one who keeps like, refusing.
Like dodging her, yeah.
Yes. Keep dodging, refusing, just like completely shutting her out. So that makes her kind of become like a dog with a bone. Whereas everyone else is doing that thing that Bobby's doing with like Athena and the Grants, where like letting her in just enough so that she'll kind of like leave them alone. right? So, and I think that's the most apparent with Eddie's answer, because it's a very just like obviously PR answer. But Hen's is also smart too, because she does give them more. She gives them enough meat.
Like she gives them a story.
Yeah.
So
you're right. She gives them a story so that they think they're getting the most, like, the clearest picture. And Eddie just gives, you know, like what he thinks that they want to hear that also makes him look good without actually divulging information, because he is also like Buck, because they don't divulge information. So the different strategies there to kind of like give enough leash, but also like not too much that they feel overexposed.
I feel like as soon as she realized that there could be, you know, potentially a story with Bobby, with like, to Han's point, like that he could potentially be hiding something or whatever. I feel like that's where she, again, also to Han's point, she didn't try, you know, with the rest of them really, you know, to dig or do more reporting or ask more leading questions, or like she didn't really try. It's very blanket. Here's an answer for you, and she just took it. And it's also like a challenge to her, I guess, trying to break the fire captain into doing an interview with her. So,
because he's a tough nut to crack, and she wanted to be the one to do it for like
for the recognition.
Yeah, she is very concerned with that, because she's like, I'm gonna make you all famous, because obviously who doesn't want that? And like, she wants to be a well-known reporter who has her face in front of the screen as opposed to just the voice and everything. And it's like, I also think it's interesting how quickly Hen clocked Taylor's motivations, right? With Taylor's newfound fame and her brush with death. And it's just like, and you're using this opportunity to get in front of the camera. And she's like, smart girl. Like right off the bat, we understand that Taylor is a very like career motivated, and like her entire character introduction is not super likable, but she has no qualms for going after what she wants, which is why there ends up being like this clash and tension between her and so many of the rest of the 118, which makes it really interesting with her interactions with Buck. And I think we can spend just a little bit of time on that.
I was going to be like, I defer to Han.
All right, we're talking about Buck.
Buck and Taylor.
Okay, cool. So, okay, cool.
I feel like we're just ready for her to just give us the riot act.
So he's just so embarrassing. He's so lucky he's cute.
He has so no lucky game.
He is pretty. Like he does and he doesn't. Like it's one of those things where it's like he's so fucking awkward, but it works for him.
It's like which is awkward like charm.
It's that what is it? Tism-rism?
Tism-rism.
You know what? It really does kind of make sense in this scenario.
It's giving, you know, neurodivergency, which he's always giving, but it's that like it's like not understanding like normal social cues, so you don't really understand how normal flirting's supposed to work.
Yeah, flirting by just like asking her to repeat her catchphrase and just kind of like,
yeah, because to him he's like, your voice is hot. But instead,
great to put a voice to the face.
What comes out is it's really weird to hear your voice, like that voice coming out of your face, and Hen is just like, I want to fucking die.
I love the look that Hen and Athena share, and they're just like, can you believe this? And it works.
Oh my god, and it works because Buck is Buck. It's not even just that he looks the way that he looks. It's just because he's fucking charming. So, but anyway, so that the whole meeting there is fucking what it was. And then when she shows up to the station, she's like, oh God, please tell me there's a Dalmatian. Pans over to Buck.
I'm so glad you said that.
Cracks me up every time.
Because he kind of like...
Because that's like a callback to when... Was it the first episode? Yeah, the first episode of season 1. When he's fired and he's having the talk with Hen in the locker room with the glass walls. And she's,
either you
and
or
she's like, we told him...
Dalmatian.
We told Cap that he might should have gotten a Dalmatian instead. So...
And he is kind of the 118th Dalmatian. And he kind of follows her around a little bit like a puppy, too. Like, he is
kind of following her around like a puppy. Because it's, well, I think it's 2 or 3 things. Like, the first is, like, hot.
The hair. Redhead.
Hot. Competent. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also, like, kind of a little bit of, like, starstruck.
Yeah.
I guess. In, like, a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just like, oh, it's so cool that like this person that like I used to listen to, like that I listen to every day on the way to work is here. And like, so he's just excited.
Do you think that he's conflating like hearing her voice on the way to work every day with like like a certain level of intimacy? And
please, oh my God.
He's doing it again?
He's doing it again, like with the whole Abby situation, having like phone calls and again, red hair, the hair.
No, because like
he likes redheads for some reason.
He's the
wizard. For sure he is, which I feel like we can talk about at a later time when we can get into talking about.
We could go into this for quite a while.
Yeah, we talked about doing like a special episode on this about how Buck like forms romantic attachments. Anyway, so yeah, he's just like excited. He's excited about it, and he's literally the only one there who is.
Yeah.
And so she latches onto him because she's like, oh, well, this is my in.
Exactly.
With the rest of everyone, but especially Bobby. And like, she's like, oh, it's a puppy. And like, she knows how to like manipulate the puppy, give the puppy treats, make it do tricks. Like,
can I just say, I literally put in my notes, like the scene where she's up on the loft and she looks down and she kind and he's like, hi, and hi, and she just kind of like waves and like does the little like head nod, like come up here. And I put like because he's like a little puppy and she's pulling on his leash.
Yes.
And it's just kind of like, come on up.
Yeah. She was like, I have some treats for you. So because Buck has this view of the world of how he's just very earnest, right? So he's very earnest. He's not jaded. Like he isn't mistrusting of people like by nature. So he just thinks that people have good intentions and he's never going to like kind of approach people with the kind of way you should to like protect yourself when you're getting to know someone, right? So like he's doing that again here where he just thinks that like she's interested in him because she is acting like she's interested in him to use him. Even if she is like also interested in him because he's hot.
That's secondary, and it's because he's hot.
Yes, exactly. It's not because of who he is, his personality, anything like that. It's just because he's hot. But Buck is like, oh, it's a person that I listen to every day, has established kind of like maybe already like a picture in his head of who this person is. Without even have met her. And then he's just like really excited about it. She's showing him attention. He loves when people show him attention. And so he gloms onto that. And he, like, with his whole chest, like, tells Bobby that she didn't put the stuff about him in because he thinks she likes him. And talk about the worst character read this century. Like,
It's so true. And I mean, I can understand how maybe like on some level someone can surface read this like general audience surface read as like, oh my God, Buck is so like full of himself, blah, 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 blah. But no, it goes deeper than that because he's overestimated how much Taylor liked him for him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, she liked what he could do for her, which is the same thing as what happened with Abby. And it continues.
It's almost like it's a pattern.
Right? It continues that trend of Buck feeling like he's being seen. He feels like he's being seen by someone and they're just seeing right through him. And he doesn't understand that yet because they're not seeing him for him. They're just kind of using him for personal gain.
Spoiler alert. He still doesn't understand.
I know. It makes me so sad. Because I feel like, honestly, though, how many times does he say, like, I feel like we just click. I feel like they just get me. I feel seen. And it's like, they're not seeing you. They're seeing through you.
He's trying so hard to make it happen because he wants it so badly. So anytime someone shows interest and, like, in his mind puts up with him, anyway, that's a spiraling conversation.
Yeah, but it is a trend that he continues to do, especially when this is kind of like the first, when Taylor is the first person that he's shown like direct romantic interest in since Abby. Yes. So it's significant in that way as well, but there are similarities here that it's like he's kind of doing it again. He's kind of jumping the gun and thinking that they like him for him, but they just like what he can do for them. And it's so sad.
So he goes to thank her, right? Because I think he genuinely does want to thank her, but is also like, she likes me. So like wants to like maybe get to know her better, ask her on a date, whatever. But he doesn't even get to that point because he's thanking her and she's like, no, I was totally going to use all of that shit. And I do not understand. I mean, I understand because I'm going to break it down. But I don't understand why he didn't just go, oh, fuck you, and walk away. So she explains like why she would, because he's like, she's like, it's my job to do this. It's your job to save lives, and it's mine to tell the stories whether they want me to or not. And I'm like, that's not quite what journalism is supposed to be. You're not supposed to be reporting random stories on like private citizens. If it's not something that's like affecting people, you know what I mean?
Not
like,
ethical journalism.
That's called a tabloid.
Ooh. She is kind of like a little ambulance chasey in this, right?
She is. She's literally like ambulance chasey in this. But yeah, so he's like, that's some stupid job, you know? Because it's literally, she's saying like, my job is the opposite of your job, basically. And so he's like, that's a stupid job. And then she goes on her little like high horse. You know, I worked hard to have this job and it's important to me. And basically guilt trips him because like, I think that whole guilt trip thing is the only reason that he like pays her any attention after that. Like after he sees like her true colors for like a brief second, he sees the true colors, but then it's like tampered down and like made more palatable by her talking about like, it's my job and I worked really hard for it and I'm passionate and like, you don't get to judge me for it. You cannot like it, but you know, like this is my job, whatever.
There is like a level of respect in that, like, she says it as it is, but or like owns up to it, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that whole scene is so interesting because it's I keep seeing. I mean, I know we just made some parallels between Taylor and Abby, but I kind of in this episode specifically, I see Taylor kind of as a mirror to Buck as well, a little bit, because when you kind of take a step back and look at it, they are both, their entire lives are their job, right? But in very different ways. So which kind of makes Buck a little hypocritical for being disappointed about Taylor only caring about her job. But it's, I think, because his job centers on the people he can help, but Taylor puts her ambition to get further in her career over other people, as opposed to like highlighting stories that benefit a person or a community, right? So she's like you said, it's kind of more tabloidy at the expense of other people, whereas Buck is trying to help those people, and he just can't, like that. I think he respects how I think he respects to a certain degree Taylor's like admits that she is her career and she wants to get further in her career.
He respects the fact that she worked very hard, and that like you said, it is a parallel to like her job is her life. So,
but he doesn't like, he can't comprehend how she would put herself above others, because he's so like, I have to help people. Like, that's my purpose, right? And it's also kind of interesting because at that scene earlier, where I mentioned she kind of like waves him up and they're having a convo, and she says something, I forget what it is at the moment. She's asking like why Bobby doesn't like her, and says something, and Buck is like, that's funny because you're so likable, and it's like, she's not.
No,
she's purposely not likable, but he's the only one that kind of likes her.
But he finds her likable, and that's another tick in the neurodivergency, because it's, you know what I mean, where it's like he's taking everything at face value, like literally. And so he's saying, this is the person that you're presenting in front of me, and like that is who I am, like accepting that you are, because that's what you're telling me. So he's like, that's an enjoyable person. Whereas, like, if anyone else in the 118 said that, it would have been sarcasm, but he was being completely earnest.
So weird, because, like, I can hear that. I hear that line, and he probably is being earnest, but, like, I hear it with sarcasm. So it's like,
yes,
right?
Because literally anyone else would say it that way.
Like,
it's funny because you're just so likable,
and the way the line is delivered as well, it is like this flirty ribbing, which is like very bantery, so it does kind of have that element of sarcasm in there, just like inherently, because they're just kind of like going back and forth in like a flirty manner, but he means it genuinely. So like Eddie or Hen would have absolutely been like, oh yeah, because you're so likable. But I guess like that whole confrontation at the end, we were talking about how Sandy from the Exotic Pet Store wanted to give everybody clarity. And I guess like I kind of thought Buck's clarity at the end was how his eyes were kind of open to Taylor's motives and how Buck feels about them. But especially with, and you want to talk about clarity, but especially with like the camera guy saying, get a room, and like pulling the sexual tension out of the sub and into the text a little bit. So everything is kind of like on the page, like quite literally on the page. So there's like this clarity there of actually, like, I don't know, like, is Buck like ready to move on from Abby because he's like found himself kind of interested in flirting with this other person? Does he like clarity of like seeing himself mirrored in this very like career oriented person as well? Just kind of like, I feel like it could work on a couple levels, but that bringing that sexual tension thing up is interesting too.
Yeah, so like there is clarity there, but I also think it literally just like I said earlier, is like a moment of clarity, but then is literally shrouded reality again, because he is accepting like all the excuses and like compiling it to like make what she does okay in his head. Like he has to do that to be able to like continue doing whatever it is he wants to do with her.
Because it goes back to that like shrouded reality. Like he's had like the wool pulled back from his eyes, but then he kind of like puts it back on again. I think it's because of Trent or the camera guy bringing that out into the open. What is it?
So I wanted to, the thing that I keep thinking of is that it's so kind of complicated. It's kind of like what is the thing, the eating its tail?
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
Yes, Ouroboros. But it's just because he's having to, like, he has all this conflicting shit going on in his brain to, like, make this okay. But I think like how also he is trying to, like, make it okay in his head is that he's trying to be like, well, it's okay to, like, want to be friends with or date people who have different values than me or see the world differently than me, right? So he's, like, trying to do this thing that we see him not being able to do in season 1 at all, which is try to see things from other people's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think that he's trying to do this here, but it's, like, so not deserved.
It's like, please,
it's so
anybody but her. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering a little bit if, like, I don't know. I don't want to say it's like a revert to Buck 1.0 because I don't think it is, but
no,
like they leave it off on that comment about, like, you know, get a room with like the sexual tension, and then it just, like,
and he's all biting his lip.
Yeah, it's like this weird shot of both of them just kind of looking at each other and, like, assessing each other and their sexual chemistry, and it's like, I don't really know what to do with that, because it's like, is he allowing himself to, like, want something else that maybe he is kind of realizing that
maybe that's his clarity, that he can move on to other people. Kind of, because, like, you know, kind of like what you said about, like, bringing the sexual tension from the sub into the text. Now it's like, oh yeah, I could be, I don't know, having
that makes sense,
because, like,
with that person.
Yeah, because, like, in Stuck in 204, like, when they go to the tailpipe scene call, and he's all just like, move, get out of the way, I have a girlfriend, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like a 180 of that. And it's just kind of like, well, where was that bug that was like, no, I'm sorry, I have a girlfriend, they weren't my type anymore, sort of thing. And it's just kind of like, oh, this is interesting. I mean, granted, this is also happening after the whole, like, do you think it's weird that I still live at Abby's place? Yeah, me too. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, he moved out. He left
like,
her a letter. So that's like as close as he can get to a breakup, since the girl isn't talking to him.
So it's this progression, I guess, of, like, the, no, I'm uninterested, I have a girlfriend, to, like, maybe I don't have a girlfriend, to, like, oh, I'm finding myself interested in kind of another person that's not my supposed invisible girlfriend on another continent. Interesting. What do I do with this? Anyways, that's what I wanted to bring into that.
Let's get to the scene dissection, guys.
Hey! Where's the fire?
So for today's scene dissection, we're going to talk about Buck, Eddie, and Hen being dosed, and how their specific reactions to that really reflect on, like, who they are.
Yeah, like, I think it's really interesting character work when you have these established characters, right, who we are still kind of getting to know, especially Eddie, because he's so new. And then you completely flip them on their heads and give us, like, this wildly different version of them that is still true to who they are, but is just, like, we would not have seen otherwise. And it's kind of like the effects of them being on the LSD are, like, pulling these really, like, deep things to the surface. So we kind of see this extra facet
in funny ways.
in hilarious ways. It's so well done.
I think just like overall, it kind of just really speaks to their just like their psyches or like their, you know what I mean? Like kind of their core personalities or like outlook.
I think that's it exactly.
So like Buck is just happy to be there. Buck's happy to be there. He's like, everything is so cool. Wow, everyone. He's in wonder and awe of everything happening around him.
Yeah, he's just like sweet little kid, childlike wonder, just kind of like everything. And this kind of goes back to his optimism that we saw with the earthquake episodes where he was the one like, yeah, I like our chances, you know, just kind of, but in a more kind of like childlike, innocent way, just kind of like everything is so interesting and looking at the world through a different perspective, because when he sees like the little beauty queens, he's like, are we giants or did they get really, really small? So it's like this like new perspective that kind of like what you were saying, Han, with him trying to see things from like a different perspective as well. And it's and it's also kind of interesting, like the physicality of everybody is so well played, but he kind of is a lot more still.
Yeah.
Like he's not
Which is like the only time we've ever seen him be still in his entire life. All he needs, this is just feeding
the
into
neurodivergent.
Exactly.
Because like on LSD, you would think you'd be like bouncing. No, and he's just kind of like,
no. We treat ADHD with microdosing meth. Like
he's kind of calmer, which is wild.
Yeah. But he's also just like with the childlike wonder, like when Eddie, when they're like getting handcuffed and he is like, he's like, oh, you made him cry. It's very much like
elementary school. Yeah.
In school when, you know, someone dropped their food in the cafeteria or, you know, did something embarrassing.
It was always,
oh, Mamma Mia.
Yeah, just kind of like, youthful, right?
And that's just his personality. That's just like his psyche at the core is he is just this kid who loves life and, you know, is living in the moment and trying to enjoy it, like is looking at everything in a way in which to like, I don't know how to enjoy it.
Yeah. Like,
to, like have a good time.
Like he kind of goes where the joy leads him a little bit, which I think like as we learn more about him with like how he went from kind of like job to job to job, it's just kind of like he's just letting the opportunities, he's leading with joy. Like, this is gonna make me happy, I'm gonna go over there. So which is a little like childlike impulsive, right? But in a good way. And then Hen is so funny because she's just like very happy, hippie, lovey-dovey, very, very like emotional.
Only
very
to
like
her people. She's kind of like out of it until Chimney and Hen are trying. Chimney and Athena are trying to interact with her. Like she's kind of just like out of it, but then she's like, oh my god, Athena. And then when Chimney's there, she's like
yeah, like with Athena, she's all like, you smell like love and your head is beating like your heart. And it's just kind of like this being so much more in tune to like that emotional level that I think sometimes she
keeps it. She tends to like keep it like inside her a little bit more, like
distant.
She's always and
because she does do a lot of that compartmentalizing, and this is
so now it's kind of like she's like running rampant about love, how I love you. God, I know what that's like.
It's so cute.
Not on LSD.
Didn't even think of that.
Oh,
Not sponsored by LSD. Not sponsored by hallucinogenics.
Absolutely not.
No.
Don't do that. But it's also like, that was so funny. It also shows like how, because again, she does like tend to compartmentalize, and she leans very heavily into like her medical persona, right, as a paramedic. But like this shows how effusive she is in her love and like adoration, and we really see, I'm like, we obviously know she cares a lot, but like she cares so much and adores the people around her.
I think it's showing that she's like really driven by
Emotion,
her love for the people that you know are hers.
Yeah.
And that's underneath the surface. Like that love is always there, but that's just not how like her outward personality presents. But that's, you know, again, like a psyche thing.
Yeah, like it's always there, but she doesn't like lead with it. Kind of like how Buck lets Joy lead him around. She doesn't lead necessarily with her heart, but it is a very present factor that always plays a role in like her decision-making process, right? And because I think she is like, she can be like a very emotional, deeply emotionally felt person, but she tends not to let that
side out. Like I was gonna say, like these episodes where Hen has had like big emotional moments, they've all been kind of like on a, I don't want to say like negative, but I mean, the emotions have been on a like a,
not like the best circumstances.
It's not the best circumstances. So you've got like the scene with like Eva in season 1, like her confrontation, and then like I know like a lot more recent, like trying to reassure Karen when Eva came back and like was trying to take Denny, and like all that, when all of that stuff started to happen. So like she can be emotional. She very well can. But like it's like these moments, like she hasn't had the chance to actually like have it
lean into it, and maybe like in a much more, just I guess like in a loving way. Like she hasn't been able to be emotional, but in a loving way. Because she's kind of had to be on the defense, I think, and having to try to like prove that her mistakes with Eva does not diminish how much she loves and cares about Karen, because like we know that she does, and Karen knows that she does, but it's so it's more of like it's on the back foot, kind of like, I'm trying to prove this to you even though I did something bad, whereas this is more just kind of like, it's free love, man, like right. I think you make a great point there.
So Buck and Hen are the people that you want to do drugs with. Eddie Diaz.
Wait, which is so true, because when they get drunk at like 3 p.m., like
yes,
like
Eddie Diaz.
Now that
oh my god,
would be the me, which is like, you don't want to see me. You don't want to see the inner like constant anxiety that I live in just like pop out under the influence and ruin the party.
God.
Yeah, he is just like, whereas Buck is like, oh my god, look at these teeny tiny little ladies, they are shrunken, and he's like, get it away from me, I don't like it, I don't understand it.
Which also plays into his whole, when he told Buck that he has a son, and Buck's like, oh man, I love kids, and Eddie's like, I like this kid. You see it in full force right there, because he's just like, no,
actually scared of all other
like,
children,
terrified of these teeny tiny little ladies.
But yeah, so he's scared of them. He's fucking hiding in a plant
behind balloons.
He's using the what is their little flashlight thingy called? There's a name for it. Pen light. He's like examining the balloons with this pen light. And he's the guy, he's like the other side of the coin of Bobby's like, oh my god, there are like worlds of these little crumbs of blah blah blah, and Eddie's just like, we're everywhere, man. Like he's is the paranoid end of that spectrum.
Yeah, like the whole, and it starts in the truck when he's talking about like, you're not feeling this, Jim. I know Buck is the one to say it's like pollen, but he's like, what's going on around us? And just kind of like the whole world.
Yeah, he was describing the sensations and he was like, I don't like it.
I don't
basically
like it.
I don't remember the exact words. It was something just like, my brain is itchy. Like, I don't. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Where it was some sort of internal sensation and that he was not enjoying. And then we get to see him cry as he's being handcuffed because, like, again, paranoid. And I don't know, this actually just got not funny in my head because I was like, what if he was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get arrested and my parents are gonna take my kid from me, and that's why he's so really upset and crying.
Wow, Han.
I hate my brain. I'm so sorry.
I mean, I think a lot of these are like, you can look at them kind of like silly, goofy, but like under the surface, because it speaks so true to their psyches. Like, it is kind of sad.
And he thinks he's getting in trouble, right? As someone who is like a very kind of strict rule follower, you know, like, because he had to be as a child and then in the army and now in his first responder profession. So he does not like feeling like he is in trouble, like he's done something wrong.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you're getting handcuffed, like your control is getting taken away from you. And this man has control issues.
He really does. Watching Eddie in this scene was the thing that made me want to really like dissect the scene, because it's so unlike the Eddie that we've known so far, where Eddie is, and in his introductions, he's confident, he's capable, he's cool and calm under pressure. What?
He's easygoing.
He's like affable and like really, you know, just kind of like chill, cool, good looking guy.
And now he's a mess.
And he's a mess under the surface. Yeah. Absolutely. Because it's a little different than him being like paranoid, because he's just like so anxious and nervous and scared. A little less like than the Maddie kind of version of paranoid, but he's just like a little ball of anxious mess, and like especially and very standoffish as well. So not that kind of like affable, approachable guy that we saw at the very beginning. And especially like when Athena does or one of the cops does handcuff him, he's like, well, he does this amazing like wiggle, squirmy, like wormy dance to like try to avoid it,
get away from it. Yeah,
which is such fantastic physical acting. But
this physical, I mean, everyone's physicality
for
this was so good.
But it, like, the act of him being handcuffed makes him more vulnerable, like physically as well. And, you know, so much of his persona, as we will come to learn, is I don't panic. And we know that's an outright lie. That is a lie that he tells himself.
It's a lie that's so good that even Buck believes it.
Yeah, which is tough for them. So like Eddie, I don't panic Diaz on drugs is a little anxious, nervous, scared ball.
He's a scared little kid.
Yeah. So kind of like opposite to like Eddie and Buck end up being like reverting kind of to their childlike selves, but like with Buck, it's more childlike wonder. With Eddie, it's like, I am so afraid of doing something wrong and being wrong and just like not being good. And being surrounded by people, like, it's wild because it's so, like, polar opposite.
Yeah.
From what we know.
It's literally just 2 sentences, which is just to say that, like, so all the anxiety, the control issues, everything. But as soon as someone that he trusts says, okay, here's the plan. You're not in trouble. We're going to, like, take you home and you're going to drink water and you're like, you're going to feel better.
Oh, yeah.
How's that sound? And he's like, that sounds great. So, like, you know, I don't know. Oh, it's just really telling.
I have many thoughts
about that, actually.
But, like, yeah, he needs someone to reassure him about, well, anything in life, because he's just internally panicking.
Mm-hmm.
Even without LSD, honestly. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's trying so hard all the time to do what he thinks other people thinks he should do, be who other people thinks he should be.
Do the right
He's
thing.
constantly scared. And he's constantly scared and also just, like, convinced that he's not doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And all of that manifests in him trying to maintain control, you know, when he is, you know, sober and in control of all of his faculties and his thoughts and everything like that. But it's just, it just like that lack of control that goes out the window when he's on the drugs. That sounded like so when you're on the drugs.
Well, it's just like all of the masks that he puts on.
Yes.
They're gone.
Yes.
Right? So
he can't keep it totally together anymore. So he's not able to maintain that kind of like neutral state, right? And he just kind of like crumbles.
He reverts back to being a scared kid because that is who he is at his core, because he doesn't know who he is as an adult without trying to be who he thinks people want him to be.
Oh my God. You hit it. Nail on the head. That's it. That's it exactly.
So fun. What an uplifting segment. You're welcome.
So really, everything that you thought was silly, happy, fun, goofy times is really depressing and sad.
Well, at least for Eddie.
At least for Eddie, but also just kind of like, oh, like, and that's why I think we all loved this scene. That's why I love this episode. It's one of those examples of like, you can look at it like on a surface level and be like, oh my God, this is hilarious and happy and so like light and fluffy and blah, blah, blah. Which it is, but it's also like you peel a couple layers off and it's like, oh,
you're like, oh my God, it's deeper than the Mariana Trench.
It's so telling of these characters.
It's the Scooby-Doo villains. You need to keep taking off more masks.
Oh my God. This was a fun scene dissection.
I think that we should talk about gay things because I'm depressed now. Thinking about Eddie makes me depressed, man. God damn.
So, like, in that vein of me just saying, like, I think Eddie just wants to be reassured, and all of that. Like, who else? Who better can do that than Mr. Evan Buckley, right? Oh my God. Your faces. But
so true.
But no, so like I when we were talking about like how he's just like this scared little boy, like I was just thinking about like I'm sure there's a fic out there. I was like, oh, I need like, I don't know, kindergartner Buck and Eddie, because they would be so cute. And like as a kid, like we said, Eddie's just like, I would say like he would even like kind of isolate himself a little bit. Like he's like the shy like kid.
He's introverted.
A little bit more introverted, yeah. And like he obviously he's also like, he doesn't get in trouble. He teacher's pet. I can see a teacher's pet, honestly, a little bit.
Wants to follow the rules, wants to be in control, like absolutely the line leader.
And then here comes Buck. Buck as a kid, we do see that. Oh shit.
Chaos incarnate.
I need a okay, well, sorry, hold on. Scylla.exe is not working right now. Hold on.
She just broke herself.
She brain blasted into the stratosphere.
She brain blasted too close to the sun.
I mean, I know this has nothing to do with the episode, but I'm like, season 8. So I keep saying, if we get an Eddie Begins Again episode, Gonna be so Jover for us.
Can't wait to die.
It's gonna be it's gonna be over for us.
A good death.
Rip us.
I remember people were like, I would love to see Eddie's childhood or Eddie as a teen. I would also like to see Eddie's childhood.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want to see Eddie as a kid.
because we've heard about it, but we have not seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I kind of do hope that he is characterized in the way that I'm like describing, because I don't know, we're prophets. I don't fucking know.
We have sight. We see.
Just FYI, everyone. This is September 26.
Premiere day. The premiere of season 8 is happening in 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this episode that we've been trying to record
For like 2 weeks.
Yeah. But my point
Anyways.
being, as we are prophets, I just want to make sure I put like a date stamp in there.
Here's the newspaper.
So this happens.
We gotta start
I
holding
said
up
this.
today's paper. Yeah.
But yeah, so like, yeah, I kind of hope he's characterized in the way that I'm explaining. But again, in my fantasy fanfiction land, I just want
love
to
it.
see like okay, the kid that I'm describing for Eddie, like his characterization, and then like Buck, either he's like super wild, super wild, but he's also like he like gravitates towards this like introverted kid, you know.
There is a fic that kind of has this.
Find it.
It's the Maddie pop star AU. Buck is a photographer, Eddie's a dancer.
And what, they
But
met
they-
as kids?
They grew up together.
Is this a social media AU? Like, or a
No,
fic?
this is like a long ass fic.
Where is this?
I'll find it.
Okay.
So he gravitates towards this like very introverted kid, but like he also like, because Buck is who Buck is, who's like so like observant of like people's needs and stuff without even like really like voicing them, I guess.
Yeah.
Like he's still like he is that reassurance for Eddie. So like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like, but yeah, I could, if I thought about it more, I could probably like
No, I
do
love
more
that.
of the things. But yeah, I need that. But anyway, bitchy Eddie is a way to start, I guess.
Uh-huh. Great start.
King shit.
It is king shit. Let's be real. He clocked Taylor. I mean, well, everyone clocked Taylor. And like seeing Taylor talk to Buck, he was like, "Excuse me."
Over at the gym.
No. Yeah, over at the gym
Like,
at the beginning.
Yeah, it's just like
No, this is my puppy. I already told this puppy he was a good boy.
like, okay, just to look into how we've already seen the gym in season 2 kind of be used as this setup for
Foreplay?
kind of like these feelings of what? Down back at the gym.
She said foreplay.
Oh.
There's
Not
a lie, though.
wrong.
That's why you're so pent up. Wish I could help.
Well, I was gonna say like in season something about the gym. The gym.
As we have seen the gym set up as this. ...
We've seen specifically with Buck and Eddie the gym being set up as this place of like interesting feelings, right?
Interesting feelings, TM.
Like
Yeah.
jealousy, aggravation,
Like jealousy. Horniness.
Foreplay.
And to have this almost, it's not a perfect parallel, but it is a little bit of a reversal with Eddie in the gym, and then just like immediately as Buck and Taylor start talking, he just like I watch
Inserts himself.
He really does. He inserts himself. He just like boop, I'm done, and then just walks over and like, hello, I'm here too now.
See him clock it.
Yeah,
You can see him like in the background
'Cause I don't
before
think
he decides to do that, and he's like,
Yeah, he does turn and
because I don't think he was done with his workout.
no.
He just like, nope, I'm done. I need to go over there now. And it's just like he's so distracted, or he's not really distracted. He just is kind of a little bit of like protective mode that he goes into for
Yes.
Buck because he doesn't trust Taylor. And I think and I think he knows that Buck is a little interested in her, but Eddie, because he's very perceptive for these kind of things, knows that like Taylor would take advantage of him if given the chance. So he's kind of like bark, bark, guard dog a little.
Bark,
like,
bark, gur,
but
gur.
like cat.
Yeah.
Guard cat.
Guard cat, yeah.
He is a catty asshole.
Yeah, he totally like deflects and like reroutes the conversation. Like, oh, are you feeling okay? Instead of like whatever kind of flirting is happening in between them. And it's so, I mean, honestly, I just want to say I love any time Eddie interacts with Taylor, like in general, because he is so sassy and so just like
so fucking petty.
He's really petty and he's very kind of authoritative and backing up, like at the bodybuilder call when Bobby's like, here, you need to back up and like and Eddie is immediately like, yeah, you need to like back up, and she's like, but I'm trying to do my job, and he's like, you can do your job over there.
He is kind of always kind of like leaning forward, aggressive a little bit. So like here he like stands up and goes over like into her space, and then we see him when she's there at his place for dinner. He's like leaning the whole way forward.
It's
what else?
It's like this.
Something wrong with your food?
It's like,
and then they'll like, you can do your shit from over there. And then when they're on the scavenger hunt together, and he's like, go team. Like he can't fucking stand this woman.
I think Eddie gets a little kind of like territorial, or a lot territorial. But also like in a protective way as well, you know. So he's kind of like
it's like he's doing, especially when they were, you know, Buck and Taylor were dating. It's kind of like he's doing a non-verbal shovel talk in a way, I think.
Oh yeah, that's a great way to put that.
Just threatening with his proximity and his
just trying to make her uncomfy.
Yeah,
which is
I think
hard.
Works. Like it works in a way.
Yeah, like I mean, it's not like we ever really see her look really intimidated, but she never looks comfortable around.
No,
yeah, because I think because
especially during the dinner.
Yeah,
I think which is later on, but I think she knows that if she were to go toe to toe with Eddie, like they would be pretty evenly matched in terms of like aggression, sassiness, like bitchiness, you know, all that stuff. So I feel like Taylor kind of knows not to or recognizes that she, if she were to engage, he would not back down, which she
I was just gonna say that, and also she is never coming out on top if Buck has to choose sides.
Oh no.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, never.
So it's like if you're gonna be aggressive towards Eddie or like, you know, do anything remotely bad towards him, Buck is gonna be like, bye.
Yeah.
And I think she knows that.
Yeah. Even before Taylor and Buck are dating, I think like she recognizes an even match with him, like at the station when she comes to interview. Which may also be because I think she has a fairly good like bullshit meter. So I feel like she would probably understand that the answers that he gave like during his little interview confessional thing are very like PR. But like if she were to push, he would push back the same. So it's like immovable force, or like what's the phrase, like something object meets immovable. Something force meets immovable object. I sound real dumb, but you know what I'm saying, right? So it's like they're both gonna like be accelerating at the same time, and it's just gonna like neither of them are going to come out on top because they're fairly like evenly matched and stuff.
Well, I think that's enough about Taylor.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It was mostly for
like Eddie.
the
Cannot
bitchy,
fucking stand
jealous
her.
Eddie.
Do love jealous Eddie, though. Jealous Eddie, petty Eddie,
Eddie.
sassy Eddie, all of those best Eddies.
More about Eddie and Buck now.
More about Eddie and Buck, which is what we're here to talk about. I think, so we'll come back to the beginning of this episode at the end of this segment. But there were just a couple things that I noticed, one of which was when Eddie is giving his bullshit PR answer and he's talking about, I miss the camaraderie, working with the team, shoulder to shoulder. And I was like, you're sure shoulder to shoulder with someone.
Wait, how did I miss that he said shoulder to shoulder? I'm so dumb.
No.
Oh my God.
No, you're not.
And we had that visual from 204 with them. Oh my God. They're always
it's okay, I missed it too.
Yep. And he says no team better than this one, which I believe is genuine. But also, is it really the team or is it about the person that you're directly working with?
Mm-hmm.
Just little thinky thoughts. Then when they're dosed and they're in the engine on the way to the beauty pageant call, and they're being so fucking weird.
But
they're
tag
being
team
so
together.
fucking weird.
Yeah.
But the funny part is that Chim is like, this is normal behavior for them, and doesn't say anything about it. Isn't like you guys are being super strange or being out of character. Just them being weird on main.
Yeah, I think Chimney takes more like confusion at the content of the conversation rather than like how they're bouncing off each other like that, right?
No, it's normal. And then at the end of the episode, when we see them like everyone gathering around to like watch the Taylor Kelly special on the firehouse, and they automatically sit next to each other on the couch, and then when they pan back to like show like from behind, Eddie's arm is draped around Buck's seat.
My God.
And then very quickly moves.
I also did not catch this.
He's not slick. I caught that.
Oh, buddy.
I feel like I have seen that scene because I don't think I found it. Like, I don't think when I watched the episode I was really looking at that, but like I feel like I've seen that in our fandom space. One of those things.
I mean, like it's like a second, maybe two, but like it is very much like the, oh yeah, nope, can't do that. Just correcting myself.
Oh my God. They're so in each other's spaces all the time. They're like little gravitational pulls and
they're magnets.
Yes. And I think it's interesting that every time we've seen them sit next to each other, like until that scene, like they're like right up against each other. And at first I was like, why is there so much space? And I'm like, specifically to put a popcorn bowl there.
That's it. Leave some room for Jesus and a popcorn bowl.
I don't know if that's like Chim and Hen's way of trying to leave room for Jesus. They're like, could you guys like leave room for the popcorn bowl? I don't know. Just trying to make up a whole thing in my head. Anyway, what you all came here for. Oh, Buck. Oh, Mr. Buck. Mr. Bisexual fucking disaster. They're helping Maddie move, him and Eddie, and Chim is there too. But he might as well not be because
oh my God,
it's always about Eddie for Buck.
Yep.
And Maddie says, oh my God, he's so cute. And Buck, again, just like the first fucking episode when someone was like, yeah, someone hot. He immediately was like, yeah, Eddie. Does it again. What? And it's like, oh, he gets that a lot. You should see his kid. You're so embarrassing.
Yeah, because he could have just been like, oh yeah, he gets that a lot. Didn't even have to mention Christopher, and like he could have just like plausible deniability, you know, right? So he just like buried his grave like right when he said Christopher. It was like there's no way out of that one. So it's like Buck.exe just stopped working after she was just like, Chimney has a kid? Then she just walks away.
Oh my
she
God,
did
his
that
face.
On purpose.
Oh yeah,
because
she already knows, because she has to listen every day after work. And stories about Eddie, and Christopher.
And Christopher, right? So she's already very familiar with the fact that Eddie has a kid. And it's that sibling older sister ribbing, because I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, but I like to think that when she turns around, like after she's like, oh, Chimney has a kid, and like turns around, I feel like you can feel a little bit of like a
it's very much an eye roll,
smirk, smile as she turns and walks into the kitchen, and
mission accomplished.
Yeah, it's just like she's got his number. She knows 100%, and then Buck is just left there standing like, huh? First of all, like you think Chimney's hot when Eddie's right there?
Eddie's right there.
But
how
also,
could anyone look at anyone else? If Eddie's in the room, no other attractive people matter.
He's like, Chimney's your type, but Eddie's not? Hello?
Also, just
Eddie's
the assumption was
type.
just so wild because Maddie said 3 words to Eddie in that scene, which was just for her to tell him where the pizzas were. And then Chim and Maddie were like working their whole thing, and they were very obviously flirting because her to be like, oh yeah, beers go in the fridge, and him being like clever.
And they were,
bro, okay.
Like Maddie and Chimney were as close together, like space-wise, as proximity.
As Eddie,
that's the word I was trying to find.
Are all the time. Yep.
Eddie and Buck are all the time.
Yep. But yeah, so and Chimney was the last one to leave the room right before she went. He's so cute. So Buck literally just is big dumb bisexual.
Yeah.
Mess. He heard he cute and went, yeah, Eddie, very cute. Absolutely. You should see his kid.
How is
even
he
cuter.
So dumb that he doesn't know this?
Oh my God.
It's so funny. Because like, why have so much emphasis on Eddie's introduction to the series as, yes, good looking, very handsome man?
And the person reinforcing that is Buck. Bobby's the one to be like, he is an 8-pack, but then every time after that we've seen so far, besides the random women trying to like hit on him, is Buck.
Yeah, like everybody has their like one line about it in the pilot, and that's it. But like Buck is still on that train. Sorry,
he literally can't stop thinking about it. He can't stop thinking about Eddie, and he can't stop thinking about how attractive he is. But
kind of,
he's
can't
like, that's
stop
normal.
Thinking about him.
Shut the fuck
He's
up.
just wait. What did she say?
He's like, I kind of can't.
I'm
stop
so happy I can't see your
him.
face right now.
Oh my God.
I kind of can't stop thinking about him.
Well, I was kind of going
so
the same.
For real.
I was going.
Sorry, I got very angry for a moment.
No, please.
What are you thinking about,
I'm
Tommy, huh? What are the things that you're thinking about, Buck? Please tell me, other than that he has a cleft chin and that he's older.
freaking
That's
real.
basically the things that he said.
I was trying to get your attention, I guess. Yeah, you really, I guess. Yeah, emphasis on the I guess. No,
Yeah, all of that was like,
I
yeah,
suppose.
I think,
sure, let's go with that. It's like, no, he has always been trying to get Eddie's attention. And guess what? He has it. He doesn't need to try. He's got it. Eddie, it's that thing where like I feel like, especially in the early episodes with them, like when one of them is looking at the other and then like looks away, and then the other one looks and then looks away, like they're just kind of missing each other's glances, and just the whole like, again with like Eddie getting out from the gym and going and completely inserting himself into Buck's flirting with Taylor, or like attempts at flirting. Meanwhile, Taylor's just kind of like eyeing Buck as like, what can you do for me? Like, how can I work this angle? And Eddie's just like, no. Like, his attention, mine.
It's
Anyway,
like,
he is my favorite. He's so fucking stupid.
should just mark this territory
Endearing.
from day one.
He kind of
Literally, I
did.
just beat a circle around him.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, Eddie is territorial about him.
He is
and,
territorial.
like, protective.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny because, like, this is kind of leaping forward, but, like, we find out, like, in later seasons that, like, Eddie actually has this very active social life outside of the 118, which seems like the only person in the 118 to do that.
I think he needs outside people.
The moment that Buck is interested in a new person or is, like, potentially making a new friend, Eddie is not about that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at all.
It's kind of like we keep saying, like, he's either not about that shit and he's like, okay, now you're seeing someone? Okay, well, I guess I have to blow up my life.
Yep. Oh, you're dating someone? I guess I do too. Oh, you're dating a man. So the fact that you're dating a man, so that was the thing that made me not want to die before, because it was like, oh, you were, like, not available because you weren't dating men, but now you're dating a man and that man isn't me. So now I'm just gonna go maybe fuck up my entire life about it. Might fuck around. And mess up my whole life.
Well, not really in the literal sense. In the metaphorical sense, yes. It's like when this happens and, like, Buck enters, like, a relationship or like a flirtationship or something like that. Eddie kind of reverts back to, well, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't necessarily always do that when Buck is single, which could be nothing.
When both of them are single, they're dating each other.
Yeah.
And then when one of them gets a girlfriend, they're like, oh, you're cheating. I guess I'll go do that too. Because what else am I going to do? It just drives me fucking crazy. It drives me absolutely bonkers insane.
Sucks that he can't ever hang with the boy. With the boy. I'm just going to say the boy.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah.
If you don't think that this is bisexual behavior at this point, we need to assign you a bisexual. We need to assign you a bisexual because this is classic.
Listen, anyone who doesn't ship Buck and Eddie from day one, plus having watched this episode as well, there's something wrong with you. Oh, that's the diagnosis.
It's like, yeah, at this point, because the last episode is the take your kid to work day, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No, after that.
No, that was 4.
No?
We had the awful people
4?
in
Where
between.
are we? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Just forgot.
Oh, I just disregard 5 because
I know.
It did not have Buck and Eddie.
It was
okay. Well, you have episode 1,
Sure.
then you have like the 2-parter earthquake, then you have episode 4, which is like Chris, the Chris stuff, and then
Take
now
your
you
kid to
have
work
this, which is like
Buck decided we're a family, introduced his kid to the rest of the family, and then now this. And you're going to look at me and be like, that's normal behavior between 2 straight men.
Yeah. I mean, basically, Buck just introduced his future, very, very future boyfriend to Maddie. Maddie's like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess he's fine, but that other one is cuter, though.
Mm-hmm. It's like, which one?
Which, actually, I also do really love, because isn't it kind of like common knowledge that originally it was thought that, like, Maddie and Eddie would get together, and Jennifer Love Hewitt came in and Tim Minear was like, okay, what do you want to do with this character? And Jennifer Love Hewitt was like, I want to date Chimney. And we love her for that, because also they're just
queen.
So valid.
Like their characters are perfect together, but also it's like, it makes more sense. Right? Like Eddie's going to end up with a Buckley, just not that one.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like kind of like we should pinning it for our what if segment, I guess. Like, what if it was actually those two?
Interesting.
It's just like that whole dynamic, like the way I'm picturing it right now in my head, would be so lot of drama, like not necessarily between them, but I feel like it's a lot more just dramatic.
I just do not think it would be kind of similar to the Shannon situation.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Where like it would make sense actually, like with his history of like the kind of women that he picks, that like maybe but like she needs kind of the opposite personality wise. She really needs someone who is going to, like, just like Buck does, does for Eddie, just like pull him out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, compliment him, you know, be his, they fill in each other's gaps. That's why they're puzzle pieces. But to like pull him out of those, you know,
moments, those darker,
deep
moments,
wells,
the trenches that he buries himself and his feelings in. Like Buck is very good at doing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like,
and I just don't think like Maddie could, but she needs someone to do that for her.
Yeah.
Too. So
Maddie
I just
and
feel
Eddie
like,
are too similar
yeah,
to each other in those kind of ways.
The bestie-ism, though, I want that.
Yes.
Yes.
So badly.
I've been
I mean, they're
advocating
basically
for that.
in-laws already.
I do like a what if scenario where like Maddie asks Eddie out just to make Buck jealous to get him to fucking do something. Because I feel like that is
funny.
the kind of evil older sister behavior that Maddie would go through with.
That's hilarious.
So this is the last podcast episode we're recording before the season 8 premiere. So the next time we record will be different people.
There is the before times of before season 8 premieres and the after.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what that will bring, but it's gonna bring something. It'll sting something.
Oh, fucking A.
It's gonna create a
my
buzz, just a buzz. But anyway,
remember, don't eat baked goods from strangers.
But if you do,
take a buddy with you.
Thank you for listening to the Buddy System podcast from start to finish.
We literally cannot shut up about 911, so please come talk to us on your favorite social media platform.
We're at Buddy System Pod everywhere. That's BUDDIE System Pod.
Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to get a personal shout out in the next episode. The Buddy System is a Nerd Virgin media production featuring music from Divinity.
Can't get enough of the buddies? Subscribe to our Patreon for access to exclusive content in our Discord community.
Catch you next time, and don't forget,
Bring a buddy with you.